One student, a black student, by the way, looked at me and said, "Farmer, farmer, farmer," and he was searching his memory. "James Farmer." He said, "Yeah, man, I know you. You used to play for the Chicago Bears, didn't you?" I said, "No, not the Chicago Bears. It was the Civil Rights Tigers."
Coming up, the life-threatening journeys of civil rights activist James Farmer.
There were Alabama National Guardsmen on the bus with us, about 6 of them, with bayonets fixed on their rifles.
So I came across this piece. I never heard of this guy before. So he got robbed out of his role in the civil rights movement. But he was interviewed here on this program. So I'm going to present it in just raw form, and we'll talk about it at the end. Pretty interesting guy who also has a sense of humor. So without further ado, Mr. James.
Only a quarter of a century ago, men and women put their lives on the line for an equal voice in this country. I think to many of us, the danger and the bloodshed seems a little unreal now. And as history retells the events, many of the names have been forgotten, including one of that era's most courageous heroes.
One student, a black student, by the way, looked at me and said, "Farmer, farmer, farmer," and he was searching his memory. "James Farmer." He said, "Yeah, man, I know you. You used to play for the Chicago Bears, didn't you?" I said, "No, not the Chicago Bears. It was the Civil Rights Tigers."
In the 1950s and 60s, he was a civil rights giant, the founder of CORE, the Congress for Racial Equality, and one of the Big Four who led the country in a bloody battle for the simplest of rights. Today, at 69, James Farmer is one of the last surviving pioneers of the civil rights movement. He leads a quiet life at a small Virginia college where he teaches a class on his lifetime.
They were watching a war. Non-violent on one side, extremely violent on the other.
While Farmer has faced death threats and lynch mobs in his past, today he faces his most dangerous foe yet, history that has all but forgotten him.
Most of the students, white and black, who enter college and come into the class have heard of a civil rights movement in the 60s, and vaguely they know that there was a man named Martin Luther King Jr., and that he made a speech saying that he had a dream and that they killed him. Period. I risked my life, yes, but how can we expect them to know about what I did?
And there's a great swell of cheers to welcome Martin Luther King to the speaker's podium, a man who stands as a symbol of all they are fighting for.
The shadow of Martin Luther King Jr. has followed James Farmer for many years. He says that he was the one who pioneered the peaceful demonstrations patterned after Gandhi, which became a key strategy of the civil rights movement. History usually credits King with not only that achievement, but also one of Farmer's most courageous protests.
We are not giving in for what we are standing for.
The Freedom Ride was my project, which I led, directed, organized, and followed through, even to going to jail and spending 40 days and 40 nights in the state penitentiary of Mississippi. The Kennedy administration had been stunned by the Freedom Rides, had been stunned to be caught by surprise. I didn't want to go on the Freedom Ride, but I led it. Let me tell you a secret. I was scared all the time. I was scared. In fact, I think all of us were afraid. If anyone says that he was not afraid during the movement days, that man is a liar. Or without imagination.
Never I say, because the Ku Klux Klan is here to stay. These Ku Klux
Hollywood offered its latest tribute to the civil rights movement in the critically acclaimed film Mississippi Burning. But for James Farmer, it was another painful reminder of his absence in history. His critical role in organizing an investigation into the Ku Klux Klan slayings of 3 Corps members was ignored. But Farmer offered his own account of the struggle in his book, Lay Bare the Heart. By the time he finished his autobiography, he had completely lost his eyesight. Yet his insight into the movement's gains and failures was candid and unsparing.
Let them beat us with their bull whips. Well, that was the spirit of that day. There's been nothing like that since then.
Well, please, go ahead.
We suffered greatly in the 2 administrations under Reagan. Reagan, or the people around him, were determined to roll back time, wipe out the gains of the movement. And they did a lot of damage in 8 years. I knew they were going to do some damage, but I would not have dreamed that as much damage as they did could have been done in 8 years. Well, damage was done. We've got to rebuild where it has been torn down. Now, instead of being heroes, they'll just get to be tired.
James Farmer's past meets the future in the most popular class at Mary Washington College. Here, Farmer's autobiography is given a vibrant life. But while Farmer is the most popular professor on campus, few students realize that they are taking first-hand notes from the last pioneer.
Makes me feel very old. Makes me feel sort of on borrowed time. It makes me feel very lucky, too. Because of the activist leaders, I was just lucky. I, too, might have died in the 60s.
Well, the film Mississippi Burning may have ignored the role James Farmer played in the investigation, but he'll get a chance to set the record straight about the civil rights movement this summer. He and other leaders from across the country will take part in a caravan which will travel from Philadelphia, Mississippi to Washington, D.C., all in memory of the 3 slain civil rights workers.
James Leonard Farmer, January 12th, 1920, July 9th, 1999. Served alongside Martin Luther King Jr., initiator of the first Freedom Ride, founder of CORE. He was dedicated to ending segregation in the United States through nonviolence. All right. Let's see here. By the 1960s, he was known as one of the big 4 civil rights leaders, along with King, Roy Wilkins, and Whitney Young. Let's see, he was born in Texas. His father was a professor. All right. So he had an education. All right. And a minister. And his mother, also a college graduate and teacher. Let's see, he wanted to buy a Coca-Cola, but he was not able to because it was a white-only store. Wow. That was his first defining unjust moment. But not the last. Yeah, I'd say. Let's see. When he was 10, he came down to visit aunt and uncle. He was a child prodigy. At age 14, he was already at Wiley College. Well, 14 years old at college. He was a Sheldon. Part of the debate team at Wiley College. Melvin Tolson became his mentor. At the age of 21, he was invited to the White House to talk to Roosevelt. But before he could talk with the president, Mrs. Roosevelt talked, and Farmer took a liking to her, and the 2 of them monopolized the conversation. So he got to meet Roosevelt. All right. Farmer earned a Bachelor of Science degree at Wiley College in 1938. An Ambassador of Divinity from Howard University in 1941. He was objector to the Second World War. Inspired by Howard Thurman, he became interested in Gandhi-like pacifism, which Martin Luther King also studied. Oh, here's a bad note. He married Winnie Christie in 1945. Winnie became pregnant after they married, but she found a note from a girl in one of Farmer's pockets. An event at the end of their marriage she miscarried. She had a miscarriage. Wow. He married another woman, Lula Peterson. They had a miscarriage, but he finally had a daughter and a second daughter. So he had Tammy and Abby. Let's see. 1963, he was arrested for trying to organize protests. Check this out. A funeral home director had Farmer play dead in the back of a hearse that carried him out of town so he would not go to jail. Now that's commitment. Took a teaching position at Lincoln University, 1968. He ran for Congress in 68, but he lost to Shirley Chisholm, how you pronounce that? Published his autobiography, Lay Bare the Heart, 1985. In 1984, he began teaching at Mary Washington University in Virginia. And he retired from teaching in 98. Alright. He died July 9th, 1999 from diabetes in Virginia at the age of 79. I guess as the diabetes took his eyesight away. Let's see. A bust of him is at the Mary Washington University. That's good. They also created the James Farmer Scholars Program. Alright. Hey, his hometown named a street after him. Alright. In 1998, President Bill Clinton awarded Farmer the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Well, in 2020, still giving him props, University of Mary Washington renamed the Trinkle Hall to James Farmer Hall in honor of him. Alright. See, he was in tons of magazines, news articles, interviews. Yeah. Why was this guy not taught more in school? I feel cheated. I'm going to have to look into him. Excuse me, I'm going to have to look into him some more. Wow. He seemed like a great guy. Like I said, he had a sense of humor too. And a great voice. Wow. Like I said, why he was not taught in schools, I do not know. But anyways, I encourage you to go read up some more on him. We'll see you later.